Hi. Good evening, everybody. My name is Leiti. This is another link for the same broadcast that is happening starting at 9 p.m. We had some technical difficulties with the Q&A part of this whole setup. So hope that everyone finds us here. This will be recorded on YouTube, so it will be available afterwards. Hi. Good evening, everybody. My name is Leiti. This is I'm getting myself in a different window playing for some reason. So bear with me for a second here. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm getting myself in a different window playing for some reason. So bear with me. So difficult. This is so terrible. Thank you so much, Eddie. Appreciate it. My goodness. All right. Okay. So I think we're finally in one window with one video chat. Google Plus is more challenging than I had expected. Technical difficulties. Let's start. So first of all, my name is Leiti Su. I work with big companies and startups. I advise them on everything from marketing and social media to business development and editorial. Just overall getting stuff done by way of connecting good people. I also host a food and wine radio show. It's called Word of Mouth. It's on Heritage Radio Network. And often I get reach outs to share my experiences in sort of zigging and zagging my way to now. And so I wanted to be sure to maybe find a way to share my experiences through taking the informational coffee and drink online. And I just wanted to say thank you for all of you for joining us on this snowy Thursday evening. And thank you so much to Marcus Budline for being my co-producer on this. In fact, he reached out to me on LinkedIn, and then we started talking, and then we came up with this great idea to be able to share learnings more widely. We're planning on doing this again, tentatively set for the first Thursday of every month. So that's, I think, April 2nd of next month. So we hope that you will join us again. Totally open to feedback. Let us know what you threw. Emails, social, use the hashtag AskLeiti. And we collected questions from around the web beforehand, put it into the glitter box, the almighty glitter box over here. And so I'll be answering questions from the box, from our friends. And you can also ask questions live through the Q&A function to the right over here. And with that, let's get started. So I want to make sure to tell you a little bit about how I got to where I am today. I feel very lucky to get to do food and drink for a living. I mean, it's very selfish at the end of the day. All I really wanted to do is to be around people who are good people, who are talented, cooking the best food, doing the best in beverage and in food. And so now I spend day and night, 24/7, talking to chefs, sommeliers, big brands, startups, all of those who are doing the most delicious, innovative in food. And I started out in investment banking. Once I emailed Stan O'Neill, the CEO, president of Merrill Lynch, to have a coffee. He said yes. The next day, the HR lady took me aside and said, "You're in trouble. You shouldn't have done that." And so I'm getting messages from all sides. Yay! Okay, Marcus says it's working. Technical difficulties. So I learned, okay, wow, I'm in trouble. Like, I felt so silly and small and stupid. I felt terrible. You know, I had been a newspaper editor as a high school student, got really good grades. Like, I was supposed to go do investment banking because that's what you're supposed to go do if you want to have all the doors open to you. And I mentioned this story just because, like, who am I as a summer intern to ask for a coffee with Stan O'Neill, the president, CEO of Merrill Lynch? I've done a different job every year up until right now. It hasn't been, that's not awesome. You know, it doesn't feel good to be with a different company every year. You know, I graduated. So I'm sure a lot of you millennials out there can relate with me. It's been a rough ride. And in that time, I've cold called Reichel to work at Gourmet Magazine and went to culinary school. I was very early at Lot 18, the wine e-commerce company. They raised $50 million in funding in a year. I was employee number 10. They grew from 10 to 100 people in a year. So that was an amazing learning experience. I've worked in management consulting. It's pretty colorful. But without going into all of that, because I want to move on to questions sooner rather than later, to fast forward to now, I've been self-employed for over 2 years. And I get to work with clients that are awesome. Big companies like a Unilever, startups like Cover, you can pay without waiting for the check. It's like Uber, but for restaurants. You know, I helped David Rosengarten, the host of the first show on the Food Network, to launch his wine portfolio to the trade audience in New York. You know, I recently hosted a massive party at Cosme After Hours for a company called Soch, based out of San Francisco. It's like a concierge, but in your back pocket, literally in an app. You know, 100 of the best chefs and sommeliers and general managers and restaurant owners showed up late for Enrique Olvera to cook his street food, off-menu street food. So I get to work on all this fun stuff, but taking a step back, it sounds easy now, but it was really hard up until it got clear recently. And so I would like to have a conversation with you all and answer some questions. And let's go to the glitter box, because I wrapped this. And I'm addicted to this one store in Soho called Paper Source. They're super nice there. Okay, so I'm gonna draw my first question from here, and you can absolutely ask me some more questions live. Okay, first off, from Emily Nixon. When you were first getting started in the industry, what did you do to make yourself stand out? That is a fantastic question. When I was just getting started. So, okay, I think that, so a couple ways to stand out. And it's not just when you're getting started, but it's in order to remain relevant and stand out in a space that's very noisy. I mean, food, everyone wants to get into food these days. So one, online is as important as offline because your online presence is hustling for you in your sleep. So if you have a headshot that is like just okay, why bother? You wouldn't go to an event in your pajamas. So it is incredibly important to have the best foot forward of you put your best foot put your best foot forward online. It's important to be on every single social network. Everyone wants to communicate with you where they feel comfortable doing that. And I would say if you're in food and you're not active on Instagram, I mean, that's ridiculous. Food is so visual, food is so shareable. Everyone, I think, I'm making these like broad generalism. Everyone who's moving and shaking in food is on Instagram. So you need to be on there too. It's a great way to stay in touch with people kind of on the back burner in a really awesome way so that when you run into them again, you're not bullshitting about the weather, because who cares? I mean, today was terrible, but online is as important as offline. You stand out and you remain top of mind for people when you remain online, when you are online. When you meet someone at a party and instead of saying, hey, you know what, just grab their card, do nothing with it, you say, what's your Instagram? I'm gonna follow you. Let's stay in touch. It's minimal effort, it's maximum pleasure, and it's fantastic. So be online. Stand out by standing out visually. This is sort of silly to say. I mean, my mom would make fun of me because she says things like, if you're young and you're clean, you'll be beautiful. And my mom is very sweet, and she doesn't believe in manicures and potentially believe in dressing up. And I make sure that whenever I step in the house, if I'm going to an event, I mean, I'm there to do stuff. And so I wear something that's fun, that's delightful, that's something where I feel what I feel good in, something that's bright, a red, a blue, jewel tones. I mean, find what you feel great in. Find something that you feel fabulous in, and wear that, because you might as well be at home having a nap if you're not standing out, if you're not, men, wear a bow tie. I'm sort of like making this up, but wear something that's going to make people want to talk to you. I think the last way I would say to stand out is to do projects that you're excited about with really great companies. It's weird because it's a very small world, even across the country. The folks doing the best stuff in food all know each other. So I think to stand out, a great person. I mean, this is so weird, and just to be real, just to do good work with great companies, and then soon, you put those great projects online, and then people start finding you, because the internet is really, really fantastic, eerily fantastic at what you're supposed to know about and who you're supposed to know. So that was a really good question. Okay, from John Hochstadt, is there such a thing as over networking? Yes and no. Okay, so if I'm out, it depends on your mood, depends on how exhausted you are, depends on how excited you are to meet new people, but I am very on. I'm very, I think, you have a good conversation with someone, you chalk that up to, hey, that was a great night in NYC, or that was a great night in the city I live in, where there's young people and they're doing exciting stuff, and great, bye. For the most part, I do try to friend them on Facebook. I don't use the word try. I connect with them in some way, shape, or form, because you just never know when that person's gonna resurface in your life in a fantastic way. So, is there such a thing as over networking? one answer is no, because by the way, on Saturday night, I went out for one of my rare, like, purely fun nights out. You know, I'm usually out for business. Went out with a friend to a dinner party of his friend's birthday, and there were two separate groups of people there, and I had met each of these groups of people on a school bus. One like 4 years ago and one like last year, which is kind of weird because those were the two times in my life I promised that I was on a school bus. And you know what adults do on school buses, you're usually on your way to, you know, Long Island to wineries, or you're on your way to the Rockaways to do like a wintertime beach party. But yeah, two separate groups of really amazing people. One of the groups includes a gal named Nari who founded a women's clothing line, and just people that I needed to know, and I met them on school buses. So you never know where connections will lead you. When I say that you can over network, I mean that you want to go out there with a purpose. You want to know what it is. You want to either network to learn what it is that you want, or you want to network to get what you want. So you always have a purpose, even if your purpose includes the fact that you don't know what you want. Otherwise, you're just out there and you're going to the exact same events, seeing the exact same people, because the world gets small really fast. And I will say that I've recently gotten really good at JOMO, which is a joy of missing out. I no longer have FOMO. I really don't mind so much about missing out on an event. I'm excited to stay at home and do my work and build and work with the clients that I have. So JOMO, you don't want to go out there aimlessly. Okay, this is really great. I really want to be a food journalist. How do I make this a reality? Like with everything, like with being self-employed and working with companies and just two thoughts on that. You want to, in the best possible way, fake it until you make it. I say this just because at some point I realized this is gonna sound like sexist, but that, you know, they say that men say what they're gonna do, and women talk about what they've already done. And I think it's very important, you know, if you're self-employed or not, to just visualize what it is that you know you want to do, that you can do, that you're going to do tomorrow, rather than going through a laundry list of what you've already done. Because that visualization will get you, once you start saying that I'm going to be the Asian woman millennial, Anthony Bourdain, Gary Vaynerchuk, Oprah, Jon Stewart, it starts to happen. You have to say it to yourself and say it to the world first. So verbal. And when it comes to being a food writer, really just okay, so this is kind of typical advice, get those writing clips out there, but also everything is about connecting with people. So if you go out and meet a writer, an editor, just folks who are food journalists, and you meet them in an informal environment, and you're just likable and you just get along, it's going to be easier for you to pitch your story, because you're going to get your email replied to. It's going to be a more collaborative process. I mean, you know, the best kind of PR, the best kind of, you know, freelance writer pitching to editors is when you feel like there's a rapport and a trust. So it's all about, hey, where do food journalists hang out? You know, have your quality work to show, have real stories with real angles that you know, because you're on the front lines, you know your shit, but connect in a real way. Okay. As someone in college, what steps can I take to get myself involved in this industry when I have very little experience? Okay. Again, connect with people. Go to your career services, find like the one alumni who's working in food in some way, shape, or form, every single person you meet, ask them for 1 or 2 additional folks that you should talk to, because the 10 people that you connect with first are going to turn into, 10 and 2 people each. So then 30, and then 30, 30 people introduce you to, so the numbers become huge and impactful very quickly. And it must be hard. It is hard when you're looking for the right next thing. It is deeply painful when you need something. But what is very important to remember is that all of the people that you meet in your journey, whether it's like you run into some person on the street, or you're having the additional like informational coffee, or yet another drink, or just another call, all of that, like, it's the people that you're meeting that are important. It's not this next job or fancy title that you're getting. It just isn't, because you're getting more, you're getting more empowered by each additional person you have a real interaction with. So all of that struggle, it's all in the struggle. The good stuff is all in the struggle. And I know that's easy for me to say, but it is actually weirdly true. I'm like really in love with my purple box. Like it's wrapped very hastily because I haven't done any gift wrapping in a really long time. Like this reminds me of like when I was a kid and I would do art projects, but I promise I might, yeah, this is my new favorite thing. What kind of person has the hardest time succeeding in the food industry? That is a really great question. This is fun. The person that does not succeed in the food industry is somebody who is not actually that into food. Like, because you don't go into the food industry to necessarily make a bunch of money. I mean, that's not apparent at first. You don't, people who want to make a bunch of money go into like work for big companies or go work in investment banking the way it started out. That is what you think is going to lead to a bunch of money. You got to really love it. And I think you do better in this industry if you fucking love it. Oh, excuse my language. Hope there are no kids on this webcast. If you absolutely are passionate about it, people are going to like you. It's a very warm and welcoming industry. It's not like fashion where you have to be skinny and gorgeous and like be bitchy. Okay, love it. The other person that does not do well in food is a person who lacks empathy. And I was just talking to a colleague at one of my clients, and they're hiring a bunch, and I realized that the folks that we're bringing on to interface with restaurants, the ones that are incapable of being empathetic, really, really, really putting yourself into the other person's shoes and even being that person and that person's shoes. And with empathy comes likability. If you're not empathetic and likable, I mean, this is all from my point of view. There's certainly plenty of folks, you could probably name people who you don't personally like who are in food and are very successful. But personally, I find that I enjoy really empathizing with the people who are doing food, which is actually, it's not brain surgery. It's not working the Peace Corps. It's not a whole lot of things, but it certainly is hard and it's delicious. And I have a lot of passion, respect for food people. What kind of insights do you provide to the restaurants you work with? Okay. So I think I know a lot of folks who have restaurants as their direct clients. What I have realized is that restaurants run on very thin margins, and I do not often have restaurants as my direct clients. That is to say that 24/7, I'm helping food people and restaurant people by connecting, by telling their story, by just doing everything that I do, the whole combination of what I do. So at the end of the day, the restaurant is my end client, but I work with companies that are actually good for restaurants. So with that said, I give free marketing and social media advice to restaurants. I will tiger friend boss around some chef friend and say, you know, you need to change your Instagram handle. I will. I guess a recent example is that the good folks at Elan, you know, they have a Sunday supper series, and I gave George Stinson and Chef David Waltuck some marketing and social media advice. We love what they do. It's just every single spare moment I have that I can spend with chefs, sommeliers, restaurateurs. I do that. So got a really amazing restaurant tour on Instagram the other day. I mean, meaning like I walked him through his first Instagram post. That was exciting. I'm following up with him to see if he posts the second one. It hasn't happened yet, so I just want these restaurants to have as much of an audience, as much engagement online and offline as possible, because I mean, especially in this winter, I know how difficult it is to get butts in those seats. So just help restaurants get the word out there. How do you avoid making the same mistake twice with restaurants? I'm not sure what this question means. Making the same mistake twice. Okay, well, I could interpret it in one way. So I partner with a lot of restaurants. I work with a lot of restaurant people, and you know, I think the empathy comes into play where you start to understand the rhythm of each restaurant and who are the stakeholders and what's important to them and where they're at. You know, I won't, if a restaurant's in the middle of the review period, I'm not going to ask them to do some like off-premise event. I just kind of understand what their needs are at the moment and what their wants are, and really am sensitive to that, I hope, to the best of my ability. And to go back to the question about what else I do to advise restaurants, some bigger picture stuff is that when I see an opportunity come down the pipe, like a really great food festival, for instance, I absolutely love Feast Portland. Mike Thieland, if you're out there, hello. That is an example of just a friend that I love what he's doing. I'm happy to introduce him to whatever restaurant he wants to talk to, because to be a part of that is a no-brainer. You know, he treats his restaurants and his chefs well. The audience, the members, the attendees who come to Feast have a fantastic time. So if you come to me and you're delivering a valuable service or product, you know, I'll either be working with you formally, or if not, I'm happy to help you out, do a couple of intros, because that's what I do. So connecting kind of advice for clients, and then finally just kind of casual feedback on your drinks and the service and the food, just as a friendly feedback giver. I'd rather I give that feedback than for it to be written up somewhere. So I try to be very straightforward. Okay, so this Daniel Aronoff on Twitter, he's at Blind Blog. How do I become a professional food writer? I answered this earlier. I hope this answered your question. But I'm going to add something else to that, which is that, and actually, you know what's strange is I had coffee with Eric Asimov like over a year ago. What was it, 2 years ago? Anyway, so he asked me the same question, because he gets this question often. It's kind of strange. It was kind of surreal that he asked me, because he is the wine writer. He is the food writer. I mean, he's the only guy with the title, you know, wine writer. And I would say, like, deliver value. Don't waste people's time. Know your stuff. be talking to people, know angles discover stories that actually get editors and writers excited, editors and writers that you might work with, because we're all people. We each have our topics and our passions that we get excited about, and at the end of the day, these writers and editors have like big jobs to do, meaning they're often working under intense time pressures. They're working long hours, and so if you can, as a PR person, or if you as a freelance writer pitching, can tell them something that they don't know that they find is absolutely awesome, you're gonna be a great resource. Don't waste people's time. Easier said than done. Okay. How will we bring technology into the world of wine? How has that transition started already? Wine. It needs more technology. So I was very early at Leiti, saw that company grow really fast. It grew probably too fast. You can read all about it. Wine is a weird thing. First, I just want to say that it's weirdly intimidating, even though it doesn't need to be. Like, why are people intimidated by wine? It's just a beverage, you know. Eric Asimov would say, like, wine doesn't need to be demystified. It's not a mystery. It's just a beverage. Notice when you say to someone, "Do you love food?" They say, "Oh, I love food. My sushi place, my burger place, everything of mine I know is better than yours." They'll just sort of lord over you the fact that they know more than you about food. When it comes to wine, you say, "Hey, do you love wine?" People go, "Oh my God, wine. I don't know anything about it." And I'm like, you know something about it. You order wine. Like, you ordered wine a couple hours ago. You ordered wine yesterday. You know that you like this kind of white or that kind of red, or you like Malbec or things like, you know. So wine is weird. I would say people got really excited about innovation in wine at some point because maybe all of us wine geeks thought that everyone across the country drinks just like us. But I think the country's openness to learning about wine and openness in their wine palate is growing. It's still kind of weirdly nascent, for the fact that we millennials and people who are educated, we like learning about stuff. So wine is in a weird place. I love the app Delectable. I think that it's been impressive how the team there, and full disclosure, I know some of them, they've done a fantastic job of getting influencers to use it. When I say influencers, I mean sommeliers sharing their wines that they're drinking, and it's just fascinating to learn about what they're having, like on a Sunday night, or what they just opened up at the restaurant. That is a lot more nerdy than like your average American bear. Truly, because if somebody were to post a wine on Facebook or on Instagram, frankly, not a lot of folks would have like would know enough to have a strong reaction besides high five. So, okay. But Delectable, very, very interesting if you want to learn, or you want to nerd out about stuff. I think they're working on more powerful stuff, like if you like a wine or you save a wine, then you can then purchase it. Very cool. Beautiful app. Okay. There are some other wine companies that help restaurants with inventory and then keeping their lists updated. And I'm blanking on the name right now, but very, very important and useful. Kind of a no-brainer, because previously sommeliers would have to spend all this time going and updating and reprinting wine lists, and now it's automatic. Yes, like there's a lot of SKUs in your wine cellar at a fine dining restaurant. Like I don't envy the job of the cellar rat of a major restaurant with a big wine list. So love those companies. And wine is weird. Yeah, I'm excited I'm excited for wine innovation. And shout out to Gary Vaynerchuk for talking about wine alongside sports and making it fun on video, there's a lot more to be done. The final thing I'll say about wine is that at the end of the day, stories online about wine don't do quite as well as stories about food or beer even. So until the point that more people are excited to like and engage with wine content, it's going to be difficult for publications that are very much under the gun to hit numbers, to spend time on wine stuff. It's weird. How did you become well versed enough in an industry to become a consultant? What is the learning process like? When I started being the self-employed bear in the world of food, it wasn't like I just sort of said, one day said, oh, okay, I'm self-employed and that's it, and everyone, you know, I'm an expert. The cool thing about being an independently employed person is that every 3 months, every year, every day, you get to pick and choose what projects you do and therefore what you're learning. It's amazing. It's like instead of having to, you know, quit a job and have like another thing on your resume that makes you look like you're not focused or that you're a risky hire. No, like we're complex human beings. We're versatile these days, and in fact, in this economy, versatility is what makes, I think, you great. So I learned by doing. I learned by, you know, today I was just checking out Skillshare. They've got these fantastic videos, one by Daniel Krieger, who photographs in the New York Times and, you know, everywhere else. I mean, he's one of the most amazing food photographers working. And he does an online course all about food photography. Like, I mean, that's just an online course, but I learned by doing. I learned by talking to people. I learned by surrounding myself with people who know what they're doing. It's an interesting question because I learned by doing and by being around good people, and I think the answer there is that it didn't come in a day. It really took that 10,000 hours, as they say. Why is there such a disparity between how easy people say it is and how hard it actually is? Wow. Okay, well, that's a really philosophical question. I'm gonna hug my purple box for a moment. Okay, well, first thought there is that it is hard work. Yeah, I mean, I think I used to, you know, I'm that person that would actually study for tests in college and be perfectionist about my. I mean, I am a hard worker. I didn't realize that. I just kind of do. I think when you're doing what you love, you're more comfortable with working all the time. And when I work, I'm merely talking to food people I like. So it's pretty great. So it is. It's hard work. It is hard. It's actually not easy. You know, right now in this webcast, it's hard for me to share with you all the ways it is hard, because then it's just depressing and weird, and no one wants to hear that. So, I mean, if you really want to hear how it's hard, we can go like drinking, and I can tell you all the ways it's hard. It's also that we forget how hard it is when we get to a certain point. But I'm here to tell you that it's just hard, and I don't know. I hope I'm not coming off like it's so easy. It's hard. Like, okay, it's hard like this. Like, how many meetings are you having with people in a day that don't have a specific goal? You know, because now I think most of my meetings that I'm having, I mean, I do need to catch up with that person, or, you know, I really make time for friends, but friends that I also work with. But really, when you're exploring and you're learning, like, you need to be having for sure at least one informational coffee or drink or call a day. If not one, like, I mean, more awesomely, three a day. I believe I did that. At one point, I thought about my last year, particularly in times when, if you look at my background, it's been really colorful, particularly at times when I was really seeking the right next thing, and I hustled. I was having a lot of conversations a week. So it's hard. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions to the side. So, I mean, there are plenty of questions in the box, but for the people who are tuned in, which is quite a few of you, please let me know if you have particular questions that are coming to mind so I don't feel like I'm talking into a black hole. Where do the best chefs come from? What drives them? Chefs are pretty diverse. I would say a lot of really good chefs come from really good culinary schools. I would say that's just part of the story, though. It's going to sound, okay, again, weird. It comes back to the whole small world thing. The best chefs come from the best restaurants. And the folks who work with the best restaurants, or restaurants with some repute of quality in the back of house and front of house, that is a very small world. I've gone to the point where I can walk into a restaurant and without even realizing I'm going to run into a bunch of people, I do. Just, you know, folks who are working service. For instance, the other day I went into Alanda for a guest chef dinner and ran into a friend of mine who was the sommelier at Prospect, Brooklyn, and I was happy to see him. But it's a small world, so best chefs come from, it's just a very small world. Best chefs come from the best chefs. Best chefs are learning under the best chefs. Okay. What drives them? Okay, what drives them is what they're doing, their food, their art, their craft. The way that I like to work with chefs in restaurants is really by asking them what it is that you want to do. Like, what's top of mind for you? Like when I do my radio interviews, what do you care about? When I do an event, it's what do you want to cook? Like, what do you want to do off menu that you never get to do? It's a bit shrink-like, or I don't know, just partner-y, you know, very supportive. So this industry is really good for people who are empathetic, passionate, and supportive. How can I get over my fear of networking? Before I answer this, I'm getting messages from all fronts, and I want to make sure to answer. Wow, okay. Okay. So we have less than 10 minutes left in the webcast. Feel free to post those questions on Twitter. Everything in this box and on social that we don't get to this month, we'll get to next month. There are all these like amazing questions. Anyways, my first time doing this thing where I'm just talking to myself, but I think there are people out there. So let us know your feedback on Twitter, #AskLeiti. Back to how to get over your fear of networking. Well, I love the way that you pose it that way because you're acknowledging that you fear it instead of just thinking, ew, it's icky, it's not for me. Here's one tip for you. If you think that you fear networking, the truth is that when you walk into a room, that person standing next to the shrimp bowl is just as freaked out as you. I mean, we're all human. I mean, even when it's hard to believe, but you know, when I see someone I really want to talk to at an event, I'm intimidated slightly. I mean, I now do a lot of self-talk, and I'm like cool with approaching them, but even I get freaked out. And you have to just remember that if you show up to the party early and there's some other person standing next to the drinks, just go up to them and just start talking to them. You know, What's the worst that could happen? And here's the other thing, is if that person is not nice to you back, it's really their problem. Because the people who know how to get shit done, they know that everybody is someone worth talking to. People who don't have time for other people kind of suck and I frankly don't think they do well in food, because you never know where the next really cool opportunity is going to come from. So just be brave, talk to that stranger, be the first one to say hello first, and know that you're in the right if you're friendly and you're kind. Okay, from Amanda Roberts via Twitter. Where do you see the future of food? I just got asked this morning, actually. Future of food is that everyone is becoming a foodie, not to use that word grossly, but everyone cares about food these days, which is kind of cool, because it presents us a very, very interesting opportunity to do something about the food system. I think it's challenging to have a nuanced and smart yet digestible conversation about food in mass media. I think it's happening more and more. It's all good. It's kind of a big question. Future of food. I think the future of restaurant and food tech, I am excited for companies that make it so that it's easier for us to spend time with our friends and family, to spend more time paying attention to the experience rather than fussing with the check or figuring stuff out, or for people who are never gonna learn how to shop for their own food, which is a little sad. Hey, you've got like the Blue Aprons and the Plated and the Hello Freshes. So you know what, to each their own, and any incremental thing that can help people to get closer to the food, like, I'm not judging. You use whatever you need to use to get closer to more delicious and better for you food. Okay, there's like just a couple of minutes left. I think I have time for one or two more. What do all successful people in this industry have in common? I kind of answered this earlier. To recap: passion, empathy, hard work. Kind of bigger picture though, I find that folks in food are friendly and open, and they want to help each other. So it's kind of up to you to make your own luck. It's, get prepared and then connect with people and then help people, and then someday, you might have to ask for that help back. And it's an industry of givers. So I think if you're a giver and you get your own stuff done, you're gonna do well. Last question. I actually don't know. I don't know the answer to this. It's very technical. So it has to do with tip certification programs. I do not know the answer to this. The tipping world is fraught with issues, and I am thoroughly in the middle of all of those issues and have not an opinion about it, because I think it's okay. Economics wise, it's tough. It would take a very important restaurant group that is looked up to by all of the restaurants to make a big statement about tipping policies, in order for everyone else to move and to move towards one common structure one common structure that's different from right now, because right now it kind of sucks. Right now it's like, wow, back of house people get paid very little, and then front of house people get paid way more. It's not fair. So it's a mix of government and whether or not they should get involved in restaurants is completely a whole nother conversation. It's pretty messed up. This question was kind of repeated. Food and tech continue to converge. How will food and tech continue to converge in the coming years? One sentence answer to that: I'm excited for diners and chefs and restaurants, everyone, eaters, to be more empowered, more information, more transparency, get more done, while in times where that's needed, for that tech to be more invisible. I think that's really, really cool. For instance, paying without the check. That's like going back to the olden days when even women were barely allowed in restaurants, and you would not have a check or credit cards. You would just go in and say, put it on the tab. The fact that we're getting rid of that ugly stack of credit cards when you're splitting a check among a bunch of folks, the fact that there's so many companies in that space, full disclosure, I work with one of them, that are figuring this out, makes me really happy. So this concludes our first hashtag Ask Leiti webcast. My name is Leiti. Check out my radio show called Word of Mouth. It's on Heritage Radio Network. You can get it on iTunes, Stitcher, on the web, heritageradionetwork.org. I work with fantastic food companies and chefs, sommeliers, restaurants. Feel very lucky. Thank you for tuning in. Stay in touch on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm at Leitihsu, Leitihsu. We're doing this again on April 2nd. Feel free to reach out to us on all channels with feedback. Thank you so much.